All right, let's just double check. I have to mute that. If you're here, feel free to say hello in the chat, in the comments. Yeah, there's a live chat there. Right there. Oh, that's working great. Okay, good. Good. Just going to wait a few minutes as people gather themselves. I know this should probably be like green tea or some type of chamomile, but just good old-fashioned coffee tonight. It's been a bit of a week. Good week. Life is crazy, y'all. Just a couple more minutes. Who's up for some peace? Who wants some peace? One of my favorite things to say to my kids is a quote from the amazing Heavy D, the rapper. One of his songs, he says, "Less ill, more chill." And I love to say that all the time. Less ill, more chill. I haven't been great at that lately. I've been participating in the ill a little bit, which is why we're here tonight to learn how to be peaceful and focus on us and what we can do in our own little worlds. Big worlds to us, but yeah, feel free to comment what you're here for, what you would love to learn tonight. If there's anything, this is totally meant to be interactive, although I know it's a bit limited because we're just going to use the chat, but you can always reach out to me after as well. But I hope you'll use the chat and let me know that you're there, you're enjoying, and we're about to get started now. So just a welcome to everybody. Just thank you so much for being here today. And I just want to first acknowledge that all of us, wherever we're gathered in North America, we are living and working on ancestral lands that are still inhabited by the diverse and vibrant Native communities that live here today. We respect the treaties that were made on these lands and dedicate ourselves to moving forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in a spirit of reconciliation, healing, and collaboration, especially with many of our loved ones impacted by the residential school systems. Every child matters. Miigwech. Welcome, Buju. Today, we're going to learn about how to empower our human experience and capacity for love, joy, and compassion in a chaotic, sort of uncertain world. And we're going to do it using non-food nourishment, which I teach as the building blocks to human fulfillment, for safety, happiness, to foster peace and security in our lives. Because it's really about what we create from within, not with what we can gain from outside. That's really going to calibrate us and tune us into peace and being really present with ourselves, and being really rooted and grounded and able to handle what comes our way. There's a lot of feeling of blindsiding lately. A lot of like, what? Can it get any crazier? And it is. And that's all right. It's just life. Uh, I'm Chrissy. I am an accredited coach. I've been practicing for several years, but just last year I launched Rise and Thrive Wholeness Coaching, which is my own practice. And the reason I call it wholeness coaching is because I believe that we're really more like mosaics. We come together to make beautiful art when we honor each piece of ourselves, regardless of how much we like that piece or not. It's really easy to start labeling pieces of us as either good or bad, which can lead to masking, avoiding, buildup of shame and trauma, and denying ourselves what we truly need and want and deserve. I was diagnosed with autoimmune disease about 15 years ago, and I ended up going to the Institute of Integrative Nutrition for my health coaching certificate. And I originally just wanted to help people with the usual wellness, good habits, self-esteem, nutrition, of course. And this is actually where I learned about non-food nourishment. But then a couple of years ago, I suffered a brain injury that really lowered my capacity for stress and increased my ADHD symptoms. So I didn't just have to have some good habits and some discipline and routine. I actually had to fall in love with this new version, maybe, and if it was a little more messier, clumsier, a little happenstance, a little forgetful, I had to fall in love with those things because those are me in order for me to fully enjoy living again and live a whole life. I had to create a life that works for me, like really works for me and my divergent brain and sensitivity. So as an empathetic people pleaser, hopefully in recovery, we're trying. I tell you, especially lately, it's been a bit wild. Wholeness is different. There is no carving away the parts that we don't like or that we think don't fit. And when it comes to working with clients, whether that's individual or with organizations, I don't teach people how to live and work their lives like I do. I teach people how to live and work their lives like themselves. So that's really what I do. One of the reasons it was really important for me to sort of broach this topic today and provide some resources for people to sort of help make sense and to connect more closely and clearly with themselves is because I work in psychological safety. So that background's occupational health and safety, and I specialize in psychological safety. And the number one risk of psychological safety is lack of clarity because it breeds uncertainty, which is uncomfortable for most of us. And right now, we are even unsure of what to listen to or engage in or engage with for genuine clarity. We forget that the number one source of clarity actually needs to come from inside. We need to validate ourselves, not be vindicated from outside of ourselves. I saw a video recently of someone explaining that gap between uncertainty and certainty. So between uncertainty and certainty is called the learning zone. And the learning zone generally contains one emotion in the study they found, and that was frustration, which can also be experienced as anxiety or fear, especially if we're not tuned in or sure what we might need for ourselves or to learn or how to do something. I have definitely experienced the sensation of being in the gap of, I know I need to get those answers, but I'm afraid of what those answers are going to be. Anybody else? You can put a little emoji in the comments if you like. Sort of where we stand, where we know we're going to learn something, but we're not always ready or maybe willing to learn. We're not open or maybe not even aware. I put the Reaper there, he's saying hi, because to me, the concept of certainty and even life and death are super absurd. It's absurd. So many things that we put in place or hardwire ourselves to believe are absolutes that just don't exist. They really just create the perception of certainty and security. And there's so many things happening on a global scale right now that may be putting your deep values, beliefs, and thoughts and things that have been embedded in you in contradiction. As a neurodivergent myself, I am sort of justice sensitive, and authenticity is a key value that I seek to establish if the relationships and connections I have are safe for me. My good friend and my coach, Angelique Meadow, who is the founder of Will You, it's an amazing uh, intuitive coaching company, workshop, retreat center in Tennessee in the Smoky Mountains. I was trying to, I was like, I don't know why this particular disconnect bothers me so much. And she said it's because what I value is congruency of behavior. So it's that consistency that if you are that wherever you go. So when you do something out of character, or myself do something out of character, it really like rattles and makes me feel uncertain. And one of the things I was asking her was, if people stand for enlightenment and love, why would they stand for individualism over community? And I'm not saying that that's the correct stance. What I'm saying is I'm sharing this because that I need to be aware of that as I navigate relationships in the world. Because even in that, there's still nuance, because all of us at one point have acted out of character, or through our evolution of character, our behavior may have modified over time. There's opportunity for empathy there. Whether something has been labeled good, bad, community, individual, there is still some nuance to explore, and that has to come from within. The reason we hate uncertainty, is really because we wrestle with mortality. I lost my place. Just 1 second. There we go. The reason we hate uncertainty is because we wrestle with mortality. What's the most uncertain thing in life? Death. I mean, it's certain we will die, but how, when, what will it feel like? Where will we go? Is anything I've accomplished or loved here on earth going to mean anything in the end once I am dust? It's scary. People are taught to find comfort in certainty, and that's wrong, because there is no such thing outside of ourselves. We actually need to be taught how to find comfort in uncertainty. We need to practice sitting in and learning how to be comfortable in that uncertainty. So think about that next event that triggers uncertainty and discomfort. How can you create a safe but uncomfortable, safe and uncomfortable, the two can go together, experience of sitting in it, letting go of anything you are holding as expectations? It's really that allowing yourself to know when it's okay to let things play out, even if it seems scary, to allow your brain, your soul, to be curious enough to explore the what ifs. I remember once a brilliant counselor I was working with, it was so simple, and Mel Robbins has a whole book about this right now. And I said, but what if they get so mad? And my counselor looked at me and said, so what? I'm like, what do you mean they're mad? They're like, yes. And what does that actually mean for you in your life and your living? Well, it would make you uncomfortable. Okay. Do you lose anything? No, nothing changes. So are you in charge of their anger, or are they in charge of their anger? Are you safe when they're angry? Yeah. Well, those types of things. So Mel Robbins has that book, Let Them. So let them, just let them. It doesn't mean let people get away with harming, willfully hurting people. But it means like we don't have to hold and cling to absolutely everything, and make sure that we're holding things external to us to a standard that we have set for ourselves. This is it's hard. This is something that I have been really grappling with, and I don't know if I've been doing a great job lately, but I know that I do like using my voice, but I also want to make sure that I'm not adding fuel to fire either. Roxanne Howell Murphy is the founder of Deep Living Lab. She's an amazing, amazing person. She has amazing books, an amazing company with lots of facilitators that teach these very sitting in the discomfort in a very safe, accepting environment, providing and creating the safe to practice that curiosity and that release. She teaches a lot about seeing what we are holding and being able to sit with it and honor it and evaluate it with love as to whether or not holding on is beneficial or not. I reflected on her concept of holding during a webinar she hosted and realized as we talked, so we had a little exercise where we had to go in groups and we were talking about where we notice ourselves holding something. And I realized as we were talking about it, my eyes were squinting and I was like, and I was literally holding myself from seeing things with open eyes. Like I couldn't bear the thought of like being able to see it. So just even in that physical sensation of holding back my sight, that's a holding thing. She says we can hold on, hold back, hold down, hold up. So if you have a lot of shoulder tension, you might be trying to hold up the world. And right now, there's a lot of grief on every side of the divide where people feel they are losing something and that they're grieving. Think about that for a second. Think about your own people that you know and love or are close to, whether they're relatives, friends, how you have responded either as a group or individuals in grief. At a funeral for a relative of mine, this was many years ago, I witnessed sort of my family fall into two camps. There was the helper camp, the hugging, the checking in, serving food, taking coats, trying to make people, laugh, just giving them tissue, giving out cigars. It was a very long time ago. And I witnessed those that kept talking about how it didn't have to be that way. How would they go on? And a couple of people got into actual arguments over property and mementos that they felt they needed to keep the memory of this relative alive. Grief brings out this primitive behavior, doesn't it? It's all fear. We can't always connect on sort of the details, but if we can get to the root of the issue, there's at least 10% that we can. Not everybody will engage and be willing to connect with you on that 10%. But even knowing it and honoring it within yourself, how you handle grief, especially with all this change. And as we're seeing things, we're not sure where it's all going. There's grief there. The world is shouting and showing us in 3D what we don't want, literally 3D. And we see a lot of people holding on to what they don't want. And that's pretty typical. I've been asking a few people, okay, I could see that you're very angry and hurt about how this occurred, but what would you do instead? And they're like, just the opposite. I'm like, but what does that mean? What is the behavior, the actions? What would the solutions be? Don't just say not that, because that's not an answer. That is absolutely not an answer. We can't just hold on to what we don't want, although that is really, really typical. That's sort of what we're used to. We have all had times in our lives when our trauma or pain or capacity of growth was limiting what we were able to focus on. So I'll give you a real life example. When my husband and I first started living together with my children, my son had basketball, and I was sort of the family so my son's father's family is very much like you participate in everything. You show up, you show up, you show up. And it doesn't matter. You just do that. You just have to be there in order to be checking the boxes. And because they do care, I'm not saying there's not feelings behind it. I'm just saying that that's a litmus test that they give to how well people are being involved in their children's lives. And so this one night, we're going to another basketball game. I think it was like the third that week. We were all tired, going through a lot of stuff, life. And I said to my husband, okay, let's go. And he's like, no, you know what? My love, I'm going to just stay home, make dinner. I'll see you when you get home. And he sat on the couch and just rested. And I remember what do you mean you're not coming? And he was like, I don't want to go. I don't even like sports. And I was like, but you have to. He's like, why? I'm like, because you have to. We have to support Mason. And he looks at my son and he's like, do you does it matter to you? If you want me to come, he's like, I don't really care. And I was like, well, I can't believe this. You're so unsupportive. And I like just got like angry and emotional and just really like, how dare you? How what's everybody gonna think? And what am I like? Oh, I just want someone to go with me. And as we were driving to the game and I was like really upset and I sort of like lost my mind over something like that, I stopped for a second and I'm like, wait a second, Chrissy, like rather than thinking about what he didn't do, what you don't want, what is it that you do want? Like why is this so upsetting to you? What are you missing? What do you think you're needing? What is this? And as I thought about it, it came to mind and it was like, I don't have a choice. I want to be able to choose for myself. It's not that I don't want to go or that I do want to go. It's just that I want to be able to say with confidence that I do or I don't, and be able to do that and have autonomy and choice in where I spend my time and how I engage with my family. I was mad, not at him. I was feeling frustrated that I felt I was obligated rather than choosing to participate. And so as I thought that, I thought to myself, okay, Chrissy, well, do you actually want to go to basketball tonight? And the first thing my body was like, no, we're tired. Like, can you drop the kid off and just get a coffee, go cook with your husband, pick up your kid after? And so I said to my son, I'm like, is it okay if I just like drop you off and come back? And he's like, yeah, no worries. It was really interesting. So I went home, my husband and I, we cooked dinner. We had a really good talk. I explained to him that whole thought process. And we became a lot more connected as I sort of got very vulnerable into what was happening inside of me. It wasn't about him. It wasn't about basketball. It was me not honoring my choices. It was me not trusting myself to make the best decisions for myself. It's a very root fear. And what I learned even more interesting was my son was like, I actually prefer when there's less people that I know there because I get very like self-conscious and I just want to focus on playing the game. And I was like, uh, maybe I should have asked you what you want sometimes too, right? Like, so that's what I mean about, we, when we get triggered, when we get so upset, so enraged, so sad, so full of grief, it's not so much about the event, although there's egregious things that are happening. It is really about what do we need to listen to inside of ourselves. It really is a moment to reflect and pause and get into ourselves. But we don't all have the tools in order to remember how to talk to ourselves and figure out what we actually want. I totally want cotton candy rather than broccoli. Actually, I like both. Maybe broccoli, then cotton candy. I am going to go through some of the framework that I use to help people start languaging simply and having sort of simple ways to assess what you're hungry for. What are you needing for nourishment? And there's 4 main categories of non-food nourishment. And this is just, again, a framework. There's so many different frameworks out there. This is just one that I find really helps people connect with learning how to start listening to the voice inside, how to trust, how to understand what they need, what needs fulfillment, what's being neglected, where do they need support resources, all those things. So there are 4 main categories, and then we're going to go through the 3 subcategories that we can use to create more focus and intention in more of sort of these broad areas. The first one on the left is the green one, and that's the health. That category is health. And health is what we intentionally do for our body to keep it healthy, including sleep. Do we cook for ourselves fresh food at least a few times a week? Do we move our bodies? Do we recharge ourselves with real rest and activating our parasympathetic nervous system? When we have a cold or we're sick, do we sit and take care of ourselves? just ignore that notification. But you can also leave comments. I would love to. So I have the thing open. So if you want to chat or ask questions, please do so. The second one is spirit. That's the yellow one. This is mental and emotional wellness. Do we appreciate the wonder of the world, the stars around us, nature? Do we live by our beliefs? So that congruency. Do we create joy? Do we engage in being creative and get that non-logic side of our brain fired up? Because we actually need both. And what's interesting is if your left brain, which is your logic brain, and then your right brain is your creative brain, when they're both fired, doing something both sort of creative, emotional, and mental, as well as logical, there's a little supercomputer that boom, lights up. And that's where people become very enlightened, and the ability to learn opens up, and the ability to get curious, and that sturdiness starts to appear. Like, I can sit in discomfort and sort of see this as an adventure. So that is a very amazing place to be. And it's sort of, just think about that a little bit in the context of the globe right now. The third is community, and community is relationships. And it's, yes, a healthy home, which is also about our relationship with ourselves. Do we socialize in ways that we actually enjoy? Do we tend to our relationships with others? And the relationships that we have, are they good for our health? Are they nourishing? Are they fulfilling? Are they reciprocal for the most part? And then the last one is career, which is purpose. It doesn't necessarily mean a job. It can mean purpose, passion. It includes, are we learning and making opportunities to learn? Are we satisfied with what we're doing for a living? Do we know how to use money as a tool? Are we building wealth, not just in financial terms, but lots of purposeful wealth and all those things? Do we celebrate our accomplishments? Some of these will overlap. So for example, one of my things that I love doing is hiking and spending time in the forest. So that's physical health, plus it's spiritual because I'm cultivating joy, and often I get to be with other people, and that is socializing. So I have going to show you a worksheet next. So you might want to just take a screenshot of it, or you can email me and I can send you a copy of it. But it's really, really easy. So this worksheet is what I help people start with, just the idea of, these are sort of the categories of human health on a spiritual, mental, and physical level. Each out of those, what does fulfillment in those categories actually look like for me? And that is really important. This is about individuality. It's not about my source of spirituality being your source of spirituality. Not at all. This is an inside assessment. And it's, again, about learning to cultivate the voice inside of ourselves that needs more airtime in our lives, that needs to say with confidence, this is what I'm trying to create for myself. This is what I actually need. The goal with each of these is not to be equal. The goal is not to get a score on all of them or to treat it like a competition and get to 10 in each. They probably will never be equal. It's not about balance per se, but often life is about discernment. Sometimes we spend more time here because that's what we need. Sometimes we spend more time there. Sometimes it's a balance. Often it's some type of discernment. On the right-hand side, you'll see this was a personal assessment that I did for myself. The further out towards the outside of the circle meant I felt high in that area. If I was using a number scale, the outmost edge of the wheel would be a 1. Would be a 10, and the spots closer to the center would be a 1. So anything between 10 to 1. 10 being I am all good. I am totally fulfilled. This is an area that I am super happy with right now. And 1 being, you know what, this is practically non-existent. I have not spent a lot of time. Now, everyone will rate these differently because 10 out of 10 can look drastically different for each person. So let's start with health at the bottom. So right here. So health. Health is how intentional you are with basic functions of human health. Think about sleep. Do you drink water? Do you eat some nutrition? Do you get some vegetables? If you were a 10 out of 10 in your health, about how intentionally you take care of yourself and your human needs, your physical needs, what would that look like for you? Really think about it. For you, would it mean you have a routine? Or would it mean you would allow for flexibility to listen to your body as it provides you important information? Now, think about your current state against that sort of how you would like it to be, how you really would feel happy. And I don't mean like I should, or I wish I was like that person that does this. You really get to think about the things that I intentionally want to do for myself are. This is where I coach and help people when we work through this. It's a couple hours of really digging into starting to just learn and recognize if the voice we're listening to is really us, or if it's something that's been embedded from something external that we sort of have to like tone down a little bit and get more clear and tuned into the real inside voice that we need. Don't analyze too hard, especially if you're doing this now. Just really think about it quickly. You can do a deep dive and some journaling later, and then you can reach out to me for support if you need. And just remember, this is just an assessment in time. These ratings will change. It's an evolution. This is just a snapshot in time of one piece of your evolution, of your becoming whole again and remembering everything you are and what you need. Physical activity, of course, is movement, not necessarily athletics. It means like, what kind of movement do you want to be doing? Do you want to have, enough mobility to take your grandkids to the park? Do you want to run a marathon? Whatever it is, that is your decision. You get to decide what that would look like for you. And then you continue on through each of the different categories. I tell this story a lot because she allows me to. One of my clients, when we started working together, when we went through the wheel, what they realized was the one category that was really out of alignment with what they loved in their life, had always loved and participated in, was sports. They had grown up very active doing sports, but then sort of out of university and life, and there were health issues that were not taken care of well by doctors. Not uncommon for women. She had just been at a place where I don't even know if it's possible anymore. So when we talked about where do you want to start, what could you start? Like, what would you, if we thought about now, what kind of sport would you like to do? Well, I really would like to blah, blah, blah. Perfect. What would you need to be able to do physically in order for that to happen? Well, I definitely need to be able to at least walk, for an extended period of time. And her schedule was crazy. So we just started with a time-based walk, that they picked a time that would work. And they became sort of their like, this is time for me to move my body. Let's see what happens. And then it became a distance thing. So they started competing with themselves on how far they could walk over that same amount of time, see if they could increase their distance. About 6 months later, they ran a 5K. Now, today, a couple of years later, they own their own fitness company. So they have a coaching and physical fitness training company that is very body positive. And it teaches that all bodies are physical bodies. Everybody is capable of being physically active. And they teach strength training and weight training and all sorts of empowerment things. And it's just absolutely beautiful. Such a small thing. And again, that was just sort of remembering what has been inside of me that I've been yearning for or missing. And just adding that little bit of fulfillment and listening to that little voice inside that's like, please listen to me, what it can lead and how it can start unraveling the world before you in a way that you want to go. And it empowers you to realize that you do have more power within you than you might realize. Home cooking is part of this as well. So home cooking means that you have your hands on the food that you are preparing, or someone that you love is preparing the food in your own house. Whether that's like me, sometimes it has to be just ingredients because of my ADHD, and I have sometimes some food dislikes or likes. So sometimes it's easier for me to grab a carrot, a cucumber, peel it, enjoy it, that kind of thing, than it is to go and make a meal all the time. So um, I like smoothies, that type of thing. But home cooking is really, really important because there's an energy. My husband is Turkish, and they have a saying in Turkey, and it's health in your hands. And it's really about blessing the hands that prepare the food that you eat, because this energy gets transferred. It's why things that your grandma makes are so unbelievably good. Even if you learn how to cook them, it's because it was her. It was her energy in that food. People that operate retreat centers really choose like their cooks and the people that handle food very seriously, because there's an energy that goes with. You're not just feeding people calories, nutrition, you're also feeding them the energy that went into the preparation of the food. So that actually is a thing. So it doesn't mean you have to home cook all the time and meal prep and have all these things. But if you're not doing any home cooking right now, then it might be time to try and find one thing that you can prepare for yourself, or have someone you love prepare for you and enjoy that meal. Home environment is, of course, your sanctuary. You get to decide what your house looks like, whether you like a lot of decorations or not, whether you like clutter or you don't like clutter. Some people feel happier when there's a lot of things around them. Some people feel better when it's very streamlined and bare. There's no right or wrong. Sometimes we think that that's good, that's bad. It's not about that. It is about what you actually need and want, as long as it's not interfering with your health. Continue on if it truly makes you happy. So for example, one client, it was pictures. They wanted a lot of pictures on their walls, but people kept telling them how cluttered it looked. And so they started putting pictures back up on the wall, and they started to feel a lot happier. I remember even one of my aunt and uncles, they had a whole kitchen. Every single spot in the kitchen was filled with a picture of a loved one. And it was constantly being added to. And it was like one of my favorite rooms because there was just like memories and loved ones all over the place. And it was amazing. So you decide. Relationships, of course, are relationships with people that you interact with a lot. So are your relationships healthy? Are they reciprocal? Can you be your authentic self in those relationships? That's something that I've struggled with. And it's been a real healing thing for me to not only be totally authentic, but to trust that the other person is still going to love me when I'm totally myself. And it's been a really cool healing to find that and to have that. Social life doesn't necessarily mean you're the life of the party. It can be how many times are you getting into an area that you're not always in. So whether you are talking to a friend over Zoom, or whether you're going for a walk, you're getting out of the house, you're being where other people are, whether or not you're talking to them or not, it is really just you getting out and doing something different for yourself. Hopefully where other humans are. Joy. This one is it's so hard to explain. What makes you happy? What makes you laugh? What makes your eyes go wide? What makes you tingle and feel good? Those things are the things that we actually have to continue to cultivate. What makes us happy? Sometimes that can be a really hard one. I remember once during, very hard, challenging period of my life, I was thinking about, I wish it was like 7 years old again, or 8 years old, just, hanging out at my grandma's, eating an ice cream cone, chewing bubble gum. Life was so easy. And I was like, well, I can't be 7 again, but I can buy bubble gum. And that's what I did. I went and I bought some like old fashioned Hubba Bubba bubble gum, and I sat in a park and I chewed gum and I blew bubbles, and I was like, okay, that feels good. This is a little piece of joy, and that made me happy. What's really interesting is now that I look for joy in different places, joy pops up almost everywhere it is really amazing. Like, just another example, I put this on my Instagram. Yeah, I was working at a construction company, a contract job, and so it's like a construction office, and but there was a cat in the office, and it turned out it was the cat's adoption anniversary, his gotcha day. And they were serving cake and having a party for the cat. And I was so excited that I showed up to work and ended up at the party for a cat. Like the joy in that moment was like, I was flying. And it was just, oh my God, those feelings of love and joy are so important. We need to find ways to have them and to create them, but you get to decide. Maybe you don't like cats. Maybe that's not your thing. Maybe it's a cloud. Maybe it's, a new piece of technology you're super excited to play with. I don't know, but you get to decide what lights you up. Spirituality or the beliefs are the practice of engaging in your values, what you believe, what really connects you to others, to the world, to your faith, to how you represent yourself, to what you stand for. So spirituality for me, one of the things is time in nature. That's very spiritual for me. It helps me feel very connected to the world, very grounded, especially when I'm feeling uprooted or uncertain. Other people, it could be prayer, meditation. It can be really anything that just helps you feel connected. It could be the work that you do if you're doing volunteer work, or like something that is more like purpose driven. There could be things within there that are driving spiritual fulfillment. Creativity means whatever is creative. So some people it's traditional. I'm an artist, I'm a painter. Other people it was like, I love organizing my socks into certain colors. It's color coded. It could be that type of thing. It's really just, what's one thing that you get to do your way? Or how do you solve problems? Those types of things. How do you engage in that creativity and really like get the brain flowing? And then the last one for career, that's the main. So the three subcategories are finances, career, and education. Finances doesn't mean are you wealthy? It means, do you have a healthy relationship with tools to understand what you need to survive, to live a life, to are you sort of just happy with what you're able to provide yourself? There's so much that is external, but it's not even just about what you can provide, but it's also how your nervous system reacts to money. So I have a very complicated relationship with finances, and I've realized this the other day. I was listening to someone talking about an eating disorder. Every time they think that they're cured and they're on their way, they have a setback. And they're like, all my life it's been eating. That's the thing. And I was like, this is it. This is the thing. This is the money is the thing that I will always come back to as the thing that I, for whatever reason, have to work through. And that's okay. I've come now to start loving that, and I'm accepting it. So when I think about finances, if I look at a spreadsheet, I may not be happy, but I am definitely feeling much more fulfilled in how I'm responding to things that are happening with finances that are really in my control or not, and just sort of taking it as information, not as to whether or not I place my value or worth on. So finances, you can take that either way. Career is, again, are you doing something that you wish to be doing? Are you spending time in some type of purpose? And then the last one is education. Are you learning? If you're here, guess what? You are feeding yourself education. I mean, you're probably learning something. You're engaging in some curiosity. You might even be listening to yourself and learning a little more about yourself. It may not be the piles of wisdom I'm sharing, but you're learning. And that's what education is. It doesn't mean university or whatever. It can, if that's what your goal is, and that truly is what fills your spirit. But not necessarily. Okay. So hopefully you've taken a screenshot. This is going to be available for play forevermore as my YouTube channel exists. So you can do your own assessment. And again, if you want witness, support, companionship, coaching during that process, if you find that it's triggering things that are maybe just a little too uncomfortable, or you are just uncertain about, or you're getting confused, sort of like you're like having inner conflict about what it is that you want, that might be a time to engage a coach. Okay. I just want to make sure the live is still going. So I'm just going to go back to just 1 second. Maybe I took it off. Hopefully we're still going. Okay. Feel free to leave a comment. All right. So now here's the part where we get to just relax for a little bit. I love the lotus leaf. The lotus grows in thick, deep, boggy, wet, icky, sticky, heavy mud. And it's this beautiful, delicate flower, but somehow it gets into the mud and it gets up and it moves and it grows. And it becomes this beautiful thing that is not only, it's not that it's untouched by the mud, but it actually needed the mud. It could not grow into what it is without the mud. And that's why I love this quote. If you feel lost, disappointed, hesitant, or weak, return to yourself, to who you are here and now. And when you get there, you will discover yourself like a lotus flower in bloom, even in a muddy pond, still beautiful and strong. So just give me 1 second. I hear a dinging, so there might be a message. So I just got to look for it. Just 1 second. Oh, there's the YouTube. Okay, good. Making sure everybody's there. Okay, good. I just heard, I just want to see, make sure that that's nothing important coming up in my messages. No. Okay, beautiful. I'm going to go back and we're going to do this. We are going to do a lotus leaf meditation. So I want you, let me make a creaky chair. See, even a creaky chair can give you joy. It's just like, oh, that's an interesting noise. Okay, so grounded, feet on the floor. Take a deep breath in. Do it one more time. We're going to inhale for 4. Out for 6. Now I want you to take your hands like this. And I want you to put your wrists together as much as you can, depending on your mobility, but try to put the backs of your hands together. Back of the fingers towards each other. This is the lotus flower inside the mud. And as we inhale, we're going to move our hands around. And we're going to bloom. And then we're going to come back down into the mud. So breathe in. Let's do it again. Just take a moment with your eyes closed. Just relax. Let your shoulders be loose. What I love especially about that breathing practice, and as it goes back into the into the mud as it goes down and we exhale it into the ground, that is one of the skills or the talents or the purposes of the earth, Mother Earth and nature. Just like they take our carbon dioxide and then they turn it into oxygen. Our poison is their food and so on. It's this cyclical thing. It's systemic. And this is the same thing even with energy. So that could be emotional energy, especially really strong emotions, fear, grief, anguish, rage. The earth takes all of it and then it gives it back to us as grounding, security, support, love, bright, healed, beautiful energy. So the lotus flower actually can exist without the mud, which we already talked about. And I love that because that's exactly what the earth is built to do. I saw a funny meme the other day that said, if you're feeling dead inside, it's time to get outside. And honestly, like, how could you not at least feel a little better in the presence of, a beautiful, massive tree that has lived for 100 years, weathered every kind of storm, pest, anything, without any ability to do anything but exist and flourish. And we can do the same. But we just have to know who we are and where our roots are planted. I hope you feel a little better. I feel like you have some tools and skills. Feel free to put something in the comments or message me after. Again, this is free. Do with it what you will. But if you want more, you can go to my website. You can book individual sessions. I can do oracle card readings as well. I work with all sorts of budgets. But one of the things that I want to do actually is I've been thinking about coffee and conflict. And I don't mean like conflict like coffee and war. What I mean is like inner conflict. So like if you're feeling like I'm really battling with something, something I'm like, oh, damn it, darn it, I know I want to get this lesson right, but I'm like, keep bashing my head on the wall, or I'm just feeling really resistant. So if you watch this live, I'm going to allow you to have one free coffee and conflict session with me. We'll do it by Zoom, unless you live in the city and you want to meet somewhere for coffee. But I know sometimes we talk about personal things. So usually Zoom is better because then it's more private and secure for you. We do it either way. 30 minutes. I can coach you through some of your inner conflict. Or if you just have questions or want to work through some of the non-food nourishment, just let me know. Just let me know. So my website is risethrive.ca. I'll put that on the screen next. But over the next little while, just spend a little time, find some time and make space to journal or purposefully think of one step, one thing that you can do this weekend to bring you a little bit of peace and a little bit of a release to sort of unburden yourself from what is not yours to carry. That you're one step or one way you can tune into the little voice of what you need and want. I do have a newsletter that's on my website as well. But yeah, I hope you have an amazing night. I'm going to put that on the screen there. So yeah, happy to be friends. Please share this video with others that might be needing a little bit of inner peace. We could all use a little bit of support right now. We need to get through this together. but each as who we need to be. I'm going to wrap up unless someone pops up with a question. And just so I don't sing or do something weird, I'm probably going to just turn the stream off.